If you give me 20 minutes of your time, I promise I'll give you over $10 million worth of cleaning business experience that I've accumulated over the last decade. This is all the knowledge I've accumulated, which helped me go from first generation American to running a fully remote cleaning business that does well over $100,000 per month in monthly recurring revenue, while I work on it less than 5 hours a week now. Now, today I'm going to drop into the top tidbits, which allowed me to scale to this level, help launch almost 40 franchise locations across the nation using exactly what I'm about to teach you today. Let's get into it. By far, the number one question I get is, why did you get into cleaning? Now, my background was not in cleaning. My background wasn't in anything related. I used to work in finance in a corporate cubicle. I was on Reddit when I was supposed to be working, and I found a post of a guy who started a cleaning company, and he listed the steps of doing it. And I thought, I just want to start some type of business to buy my freedom. Let me give this a shot. And the truth is, it just kind of started working. All this other stuff I was doing, e-commerce, drop shipping, affiliate marketing, whatever, it didn't work. But cleaning worked. And I wish I could say I was really insightful and I thought I was going to get into cleaning and I analyzed X, Y, and Z, Y. But the truth is, I kind of fell into it. And in hindsight, I'll tell you exactly why this is one of the best business models out there. Number one, it's recession resistant, meaning if there's a downturn, there's a lot of people who still need cleanings. Even in a recession, things still get dirty. Maybe people don't want their homes cleaned as much, but Airbnbs need cleaning, move in, move outs need cleaning, commercial accounts need cleaning, apartment complex buildings need cleaning. There's unlimited things to get cleaned because dirt doesn't go away in a recession, right? The other thing I like about this is one of those industries which someone told me is called the ancient river of wealth. This industry, cleaning, has been around for literally thousands of years. It's been around since humans started making mess and cleaning stuff, right? People hire cleaning services. So this is something which has been established, has always been there, and is relatively easy to get started. And the truth is, the riches are in the niches, and the dirty work pays the most, and cleaning is dirty work. The residential cleaning market is also booming. It's a $68 billion industry, right? This is always growing. It's kind of in the back burner. People don't really think about it as much. What I like about a lot is how quickly technology is moving right now. People who run cleaning businesses could use that to our advantage because our competitors don't know what they're doing. A lot of other kind of newer age businesses, which are in AI, tech, startup, whatever, they get hit with a lot of things. Like the AI is moving so fast, it's probably wiping out hundreds of thousands of businesses every single day. Tariffs come in and they decimate other types of businesses. With cleaning, where the product is people, it's going to be a long while before technology fully replaces that. People always need people to do labor that they don't want to do. And that's why this business is resistant to a lot of changes which are coming in the industry. And what I'll explain later is how you, as a first mover watching this video, could use a lot of the technological stuff that's currently going on, apply it to this really old school industry of cleaning, and just dominate the competition. But here's the truth. Most cleaning businesses will cap out max at $40,000 to $50,000 per month in revenue. That's almost minimum wage at that point. Very few make it to $1 million and beyond. Now, with all our franchise locations, I will only sell a franchise if I believe it has the potential to get to $1 million plus. And the truth is, there's some secrets, some tactics, some things I know from doing this for a decade plus that has allowed us to scale to that number and beyond on autopilot. And I'm going to share that with you now. Back when cleaning was created, cleaning in general, the traditional model of the Molly Maids and these old school companies is you get a vehicle, you get it wrapped, you have an office space, everyone reports to the office. It's this very old school type of industry, right? Cleaners go in the car and they go to the job and they do X, Y, and Z. As the business owner, think about what I just said. You need an office lease, a couple grand. You're going to have leases for cars, right? Multiple cars, going to be at least a couple grand right there with all in included. Have a place to store supplies. You might have other leases that you actually have to keep in mind. There's a lot of overhead involved with running a traditional cleaning business. Now, for every $1 of overhead, you need at least 3 times that amount in revenue minimum to be able to break even. And this is how cleaning industries have always run for the last 100 years is you have all this overhead and vehicles and equipment and supplies and office spaces. And the truth is, with how quickly technology has moved nowadays, you do not need that. The revamped new age way of thinking about a cleaning company is called a remote cleaning company. And that's pretty much what I did. So I started my business in 2015. I quit my job and I traveled the world, backpacked for over 5 years across 60 countries while running my local business fully remotely. How is that possible? Number one, with technology, and number two, changing the mindset around labor. If you think about it, all the work is done at the client's home. So if your technicians or cleaners could go straight from their home to the job site, that solves a lot of things. Because of that, you can limit the overhead, and you just got to get really good at staffing. You got to get really good at technology and coordination. You got to utilize global talent to service your local operations. And doing that, you don't need to generate as much revenue to have higher profit. You could have higher profit margins pretty much at the gate. So that's one of the biggest benefits of a remote cleaning model, which is more new age rather than the traditional old school model. Now, when it comes to the cleaning industry, if you guys are watching this, you're already in it, you kind of know this. If you don't, realize this: you are not getting into the cleaning business. You are getting into the recruitment business. Any home service business, I don't really care what it is, it's usually a recruitment and staffing company first, a marketing company second, and a cleaning company last. That's the way of thinking about it. The product that you're putting out is the people, right? And you got to be able to recruit the best people, onboard them, make sure the customers are happy, all that kind of good stuff with operations. So this really is more of a staffing company than it is a cleaning company. Cleaning just happens to be the end product that these people are providing. Now, let me run through some really quick math so you could kind of see how valuable even one cleaner is, and that'll change your mindset around how to approach this. Let's say one solid A-rated cleaner could do 2 jobs a day. Let's make it up. They could maybe do $200 per job in revenue. So in a given day, they could do $400 in revenue for you. Now, let's say they work 5 days a week. That's $2,000 potential in revenue per week. A month would be $8,000. So one solid A-rated cleaner at 2 jobs a day, 5 days a week could generate you $8,000 per month in revenue. That's $100,000 for the year, pretty much. Now, let's say you lose that cleaner and you need to replace that with another A-rated cleaner. This is where it gets tricky. People think, oh, I'll just replace them and find somebody else. What I found in the recruitment cycle, because this is really a recruiting business, is there's at least a 3-week lead cycle before you're going to be able to replace that initial cleaner. Meaning A-rated cleaner leaves, you have to screen people, onboard them, make sure it's the right fit, match them with the same customers, and hopefully the customers are happy as well. It takes at least 3 weeks to get through that process. So 3 weeks of revenue is effectively lost. At $2,000 per week of revenue, you're losing $6,000 every time a cleaner leaves, and every time you onboard an A-rated cleaner and retain them, you can make $8,000 per month. That's the right way of thinking about this business. It is a cleaner retention game and making sure the people you have are happy. Here's actually the 4 traits to look for when you start finding cleaners. This one took me way too long at the beginning. At the beginning, I was like, oh, cool, you got experience, incredible. Let's work together. Here's the truth of what you're looking for in a cleaner. Number 1 is reliability. 100% you have to be reliable. Number 2 is attitude. And number 3 is communication. You have to have all 3. If you only have 2, it doesn't work. Someone is really reliable and has good attitude, but they don't really communicate with you or the customer, it's not going to work. Someone has great attitude and they communicate well, but they show up late, they're not really reliable, it's not going to work. You have to have all 3 non-negotiable in anyone you onboard. Notice I didn't say cleaning quality. Cleaning quality would be last. For you, if you're running an employee model and you can train them, you could always train someone to have solid cleaning quality. Or you could find someone who already has that experience with them as well. But remember, you got to have those top 3 things or it's not going to work. Now, one common question I get from a lot of franchise prospects is, hey, how many cleaners do I actually need to start? The answer is quite simple. It's 2. It's 1 primary and 1 backup. Ideally, you could onboard 1 cleaner and they can stay with you forever, but the truth is, it is a higher churn industry, meaning you're going to do ABC, which is always be recruiting. That's the phrase we use. I made this, and that's what we tell everyone is, I don't care if we're fully staffed, keep recruiting because someone will call out and you don't want that crazy lead week cycle to find somebody else. So have a really solid bench team going. But to launch, you need 1 primary and 1 backup. That's kind of it. On any given job, always have backups. At the beginning, the hard part about the business is how do I get leads? As long as you're marketing aggressively, at some point that problem shifts. It's no longer a lead gen problem. It's how do I get enough cleaners? The cool part about this model is it's quite simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. That just means it's simple. It's 2 problems you're going to have in the business, and that's it. Do I have a lead gen problem and getting enough customers, or do I have a cleaner problem and I need to get more labor? That's it. Those are the only 2 things to solve for, really. And it's always a seesaw. Sometimes you're going to have more cleaners than customers. Sometimes you're going to have more customers than cleaners. And your job as the business owner is just trying to keep it as much in equilibrium as possible. All right, now I'm going to go rapid fire with a bunch of numbers that you actually should be tracking and should know. Now, the whole key of business, really anything, I don't care if it's cleaning business, underwater basket weaving business, car rental business, whatever, you got to know your numbers cold. The cool part is, since I've been doing this for a while, I'm just going to tell you the numbers you should be targeting for the residential cleaning industry. All right, we're going to go rapid fire. Take out your pen and notepad, write these down. Here's some rapid fire numbers to know. Cost per hire. Call it whatever you want. Cost per hire, we'll go with that one. Cost per hire, you're looking for under $250 to find and onboard a cleaner who's going to pass their test cleaning phase, right? And there's a whole nother video about how to find the labor, and we actually help a lot of our franchisees with the exact funnel of how to do it. So if you're interested, check out madethisfranchise.com. We have a really sweet, elaborate 5-step recruiting process for franchisees. We teach them it over 2 weeks. We let them know what job ads convert, all that kind of good stuff. So if you're interested, check out Made This Franchise for the shortcut. Anyways, as it relates to KPIs, under $250 per cost per lead is the target goal for you. Why that's important is you got to know if you're hitting the ballpark or not, and if you need to fix something in your funnel. For example, if you're like, hey, I'm getting onboarding people for $100, that's great as long as they're good and they pass the test clean phase. Keep at it. You're doing great. But if you're like, hey, I'm spending $2,000 on Indeed and I only got 2 real cleaners who stuck with me, maybe something's broken in your process. What we always say is $250 is the target. And it's a pretty penny right there, $250. Think about it this way, though. Here's a secret tip I'm going to tell you. If you would pay Indeed or Monster or whatever these job ad platforms $250 to get a cleaner, why don't you just go to your existing cleaners and say, hey, if you bring me someone who's good and who stays for X number of cleans, I will pay you $200. It's a win-win. You don't have to pay these online platforms. You can take the money, pay it straight to your existing labor, and everyone's happy, right? So that's another trick that's worked really, really well over the last few years. Cost per lead. Cost per lead is how much you will pay to get a lead or a phone call to you. Either a phone call or online booking for your service. You should be targeting at the very low end $25 to $75 cost per lead. Blended. What does blended mean? That means you might be running Google AdWords and that's $100 cost per lead, but you might run Facebook ads or other things and that's only $10. And blended, you're at $50, something like that. So ideally you want to be between 25 to 75, but really you're going to end up between 50 to 75 for the most part. Blended cost per lead for marketing. Next, close rates. If a lead calls you, what should your close rates be? A lot of it depends on lead source. For example, a lot of our franchisees use Thumbtack. That's going to be a lower close percent. You're eyeing at best 15% is what I've seen, unless you have a crazy amount of reviews. Meta also is lower percent. Maybe direct calls to you, if someone looks at your online profile on Google and calls you, that's a higher percent. That's closer to 50%. Blended, if you're between 33% and 45%, I think you're doing pretty solid. If you're above 50%, you're killing it. That means your lead sources are probably really, really good. On the blended rate, again, taking all marketing avenues into consideration, 30 to 45%, I think you're pretty solid. Of the leads who come in, what percent are going to be recurring? That's one big question I always get. This also depends on what is your offer. Are you offering any sort of discount up front if they stay recurring? Are you even offering recurring to people? Typically, I tell people, hey, at the low end, you want to be at least 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 calls that you book should be a recurring service. Recurring means monthly, bi-weekly, or weekly. A lot of people call for a one-time. Now, I do think this varies depending what platform you're on. Like if you're on Google LSA or Thumbtack, these might be a lot of one-time sales versus maybe you're getting offline stuff. And I found offline stuff like B&I groups, apartment complexes, networking on the market. These tend to be more recurring, so the number is going to be higher. But if you're doing straight online ads, inbound calls, 1 in 4 ideally is where you're targeting minimum to be converted to recurring. All right, let's talk labor cost. Of the amount you make, how much you pay out to your labor. What you should be targeting is probably 40 to 50% goes out to labor. Now, there's a bunch of factors in this. Are you using employees? Are you using contractors? Whatever. Almost regardless, I'm telling you, 40 to 50% is kind of where I want you to target. Now, typically, if you have employees, you might pay them less, but then you're also paying for supplies as well as taxes and stuff, so that amount goes up. For contractors, you're pretty much paying them just a flat rate amount and they cover everything. And because of that, you're probably paying them a little bit higher. Regardless, on either of the sides, 40 to 50% labor cost, meaning if you're charging $200 to the customer, about $100 should go over to the labor. All right, the next big one I'm going to drop on you, just a number you kind of got to know, is customer LTV, lifetime value. Now, lifetime value means if a customer books with you, what amount of revenue can you generate for them in the lifetime of them being with you? Many times that's for recurring customers, but also for one-time customers. So a lot of times they got to book again, and homes get dirty all the time. So even if it's a one-time customer, you can get more than one sale from them. We use this pretty awesome company. It's called Grow Baby Grow Marketing, gbg.marketing, I believe is a website. They built out all the really cool funnels and structures for us. So that way, all these one-time customers, we could remarket to them to get them to book again. That's how you increase the lifetime value of one-time customers. For recurring customers, LTV numbers vary a lot depending on is this an Airbnb customer? Is this a regular residential customer? Is this a commercial customer? All those kind of things. Generally, for a regular residential customer, you're looking for at least 8 to 12 months for them to stay with you for a recurring regular residential customer. If you're above that, you're doing great. If you're below that, you should probably look into the quality of what you're doing. All right, this next concept is something that I've been teaching franchisees and I've realized and formalized over the last few years of helping coach a lot of franchisees, which is, what are the stages of my growth? Let's say you launch a cleaning company and you're like, okay, I'm going to grow. At what different milestones do things need to change? And I've kind of got this down to a science. I have a bunch of data. I understand what mental hurdles people are going to come into at certain points. And the cool part is, I'm just going to break this down for you right now. Cool? Let's get into it. The first phase of launching a residential cleaning company is called the grind phase. The grind phase is that $0 to $10,000 per month in revenue phase. During this phase, you're probably super motivated, super excited. You're throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Consider this an experimentation phase. You're just trying to figure out what works. You're trying to hone in your sales script. You're probably paying a lot more per leads at this point because you don't have any social proof or reviews. Your close rates are probably lower because you don't really have your sales script dialed down. It's okay. This is an experimentation phase. The goal for you is to try to do as many different experiments as you can, as fast as you can, to try to get out of the grind phase. You absolutely need to get out of this phase. This phase is like pure hustle. That's essentially what you're doing at this phase. Now, how long it takes to get out of the grind phase depends on two factors. One is how much time have you put into the business? Like if you're a part-timer, you don't have as much time. Or how much money you're putting into marketing. If you don't have money and you don't have time, things are going to go really slow. So you got to have ideally both time and money to get out of the grind phase. If not, at least one of them is what you got to do. The phase after that is an interesting phase. This phase is called the no man's land phase. That doesn't sound too promising, right? How I envision this, the grind phase as well as the no man's land phase and all of this kind of stuff, is pretend you are hiking up a mountain. A few months ago, I did Mount Everest base camp. It's a 9-day hike up to Mount Everest. And during that part, you hire a Sherpa, right? And a Sherpa is going to guide you. At the beginning of when I was doing this hike, I did it with my wife. We were exhausted. You're excited, but you're exhausted, right? Because you don't understand the switchbacks. You don't understand the terrain. You're breathing really heavy. That's kind of the grind phase, but you're just running pure on excitement and motivation. The next phase, no man's land phase, is imagine you're climbing up a mountain with your Sherpa and you're going up a very steep incline. And during this area of the mountain, it's also raining like crazy and it's really cold. This is no man's land phase. No man's land phase is from 10,000 to 25,000 or 30,000 per month in revenue. That is no man's land phase. This is the phase where you're like, dude, I feel like I struggled a lot. I shouldn't be making more money. But then you look at your bank account and you're like, dude, I'm not making that much money. What's going on? Most businesses die in no man's land phase. You have to get out of this phase. I'm going to tell you exactly how to get out of this phase, but you got to get out of this phase. It's critical. At this point, you know what you're doing. You have recurring business coming in. You kind of understand how to get customers, but you also have a level of fixed cost, whether that's your software, your remote team members, whatever. There's fixed cost and your revenue is not high enough to get you high profit margins. So at this point, you might be at, I'm making it up, 10% profit margins at $15,000 of revenue, meaning you're maybe only bringing home $1,500 for all the work you're doing. The cool thing is the bigger you get, once you get out of this phase, profit margins generally increase as well as the top line number increases. Cool. So to get out of no man's land phase, here's the scary part. You have to spend more money to get out of no man's land phase. The next phase is the fun phase, in my opinion. This is the $30,000 to $50,000 per month phase. I call it the freedom phase. This doesn't mean you're fully free, but you start to have a lot more optionality. You could take trips off. You could have remote team members monitor things while you're not on the entire time. You start to see some real money, some fruits of your labor. The whole business is not dependent on you. At this point, you probably still have yourself a job. You don't have a fully functioning automated business, but things are a lot easier. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. Things are going pretty well at this point. The struggle most people have in this phase is they get stuck. They're like, dude, I'm tired. I want to flip the automation switch on. This is not the phase to switch automation switch on. That comes next. This is the phase where you kind of go back to the fundamentals. You make sure you're keeping customers growing, and you will naturally get out of this phase. Try not to flip the automation switch at this phase. That's where most people fail. But this is a fun phase. You actually make money at this point and you're starting to feel like a real business owner. The next phase I call the growth phase. This is $50,000 to $100,000. This is where things start to move really fast. You can grow from 50 to 100,000, like double in a year. Things start compounding because you have critical mass of Google reviews. Your SEOs may be hitting. You have repeat customers. You have customers in your database you can market to. You know how to sell people. You have remote team members. You could focus on other types of marketing. Things could start to grow really fast. And this is where it becomes fun. You start to see real money coming in, and you're almost at the point where you have total time, location, and financial freedom. These are the 4 phases of growth from 0 to 100,000 and what you should expect at each stage. All right, this is getting kind of dense, but I want to drop one more piece of knowledge on you that's taken me a very long time to accumulate, which is how do you build an office team to help service your local cleaning company? Now, my team is across the world, and I've visited them as well, which is the really cool part of having a remote cleaning business. A lot of my sales guys are in South Africa. I went with them. They took me on safaris. I had a bride with them. It was awesome. A lot of my team members are in Latin America as well. And, I traveled extensively through Latin America. And the cool part is with a fully remote cleaning business, you don't really need anyone on the ground besides your labor. So calls come in, they'll route to my team in South Africa, they'll pick up the calls and do the sales. If cleaners have issues, they'll call a number and that goes to my team in Latin America. They can handle it in Spanish, since a lot of the cleaners speak Spanish as well. So different countries have different strengths as well. Typically we recruit mostly in South Africa when it comes to sales. English speaking country, have a really cool British sounding accent that people like, or Latin America when it comes to operations, mostly because of the similarities with a lot of the cleaners. Now, pay rates range. Typically what I advise franchisees is you're probably looking for an entry-level person between $1,000 to $1,600 per month is what the ongoing salary is in these countries. Different places will vary. The Philippines is cheaper. Some parts of Latin America will be more expensive. Like there's a range, right? So, try to recruit the best person for what you're looking for, but an entry-level person to do baseline sales, baseline operations is probably going to be in that range for you. So the insights I just shared with you took me 12 plus years and hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes to figure out. I hope you will watch this video and avoid a lot of these mistakes, make way more money than I did, and grow and scale super fast. Now, if you just want to get on the rocket ship and avoid a lot of the trial and error, continue to watch these videos. I'm going to just share everything I can in them. You could also check out MadeThisFranchise.com. This is a franchise operation which I started. It's pretty much copying my existing Made This business model in Los Angeles across the nation. We've helped people like Dan, who was able to quit his job within 3 months to start his Made This location completely remotely. Or Brian and Jen, who used to be franchise owners of a brick and mortar brand, have ended up buying a Made This location, now have expanded to multiple locations by themselves. So if you're looking to fast track your journey to time, location, and financial freedom, check out Made This Franchise.